So I've been playing competitive Pokemon for quite a long time now, and one of the metas I've been playing the most across my competitive career has been Ubers. Now, I've come to the realization recently, especially after playing this Natdex Ubers draft game that I'm playing for, the Smoke on Draft circuit, is that Paralysis is probably one of the most important status conditions in this format. And like, I've looked back to my history of playing Ubers in Gen 6, Gen 7, Gen 8, and there've been many a time where, I'm just on the ladder, I have my offensive mon out, and they're trying to get some chip on like a defensive Pokemon or even just something that has a lot of bulk, because as you know, Ubers is a very bulky tier. You have Arceus with 120 in its defensive stats, and like, you do the damage and then, they just fire off a T-Wave and your offensive mon is just screwed for the rest of the game. It's not going to do anything good. And like, I've really just come to a realization that like, even though you have Toxic, which is a very nice move to have, especially in Ubers where clerics are few and far between, like, T-Wave is just as equally as important in my opinion, because having all these fast, really hard-hitting threats paralyzed, half in their speed or even quartering their speed in gens previous to Generation 7, it's just a nice thing to have. And also you have a 25% chance of making sure they don't even move on like a turn, which can be pivotal in stopping something from spamming recovery, for example, especially in Ubers, like being like paralyzing an Arceus form and then you try and chip them down and like praying that they get the fully paralysis so they can't recover is just something that I like seeing when I play Ubers. Now this is, like I said previously, this is a game I'm playing for the Natdex Ubers draft that Smogon is hosting, and like, if you guys want to check out, here's my team. You can kind of see in the replay as well, but I decided to go, I wanted Arceus, Steel and Ho, but Ho got taken, so that was fun. I do have Palkia, Mewtwo. I have like some hard-hitting Pokemon here for sure. We have Wo-Chien, live Wo-Chien reaction. We also have Clefable, which Clefable is going to be the star of this video, so obviously you guys are going to see what the reason why I'm making this video for. But before we get into it, guys, if you guys enjoy this video and enjoy the content on this channel, want to see some more, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. Thank you very much, guys. But yeah, again, Paralysis is really strong, and I think this game really highlights like why Paralysis is so good in Uber's formats, because of like the general power level. If you want to bring down the power level, there's a few things that like, or you want to combat the power level, there's a few things I think you need to do. You either keep up with the power level and like, just broken threats versus broken threats and just kill, wall break things before they break you, or try and slow it down, try and reduce the power level. And like, reducing the power level can mean many things, getting up T-Spikes, getting up Toxic on certain Pokemon, and just having Paralysis on the offensive mons, because if your offensive mons are faster than their offensive mons and you have stats that are like easily going above 150 in the offensive stats, you're gonna kill things very easily. You're gonna kill offensive mons very easily, and especially in a draft format where you have a limited amount of points, so not every single member of your team is going to be having Uber's BST, like there's a Palafin, and maybe Palafin's not the best example. That mon gets like 600 BST when it, basically mega evolves. But as you can see, like, I have mon like Mega Kangaskhan, which historically is a Uber's Pokemon, but you know what I mean, like having box art legendaries or just guys like Mewtwo or Deoxys, basically. So yeah, looking at this team against my opponent, I'll just tell you guys now, obviously there's a Palafin, Arceus Dark, Deoxys Attack, and this is a Mega Mewtwo X, so yeah, very scary Pokemon. Then there's a Reshiram. So as you can see, you got a good amount of solid Ubers on your side, while I have Palkia Origin. This one hits very hard. I have Arceus Steel, my own Mewtwo, which is not Mega evolving, so it's still speed ties with Mega Mewtwo X, so it's not really that much of an issue. We have Spadef Clefable because I'm worried about Deoxys Attack and especially the Reshiram. I think I was also worried about my opponent here is Ontario Oshawott here, by the way. I was also worried about things like Thunderous T, for example, but it was mainly for Reshiram because like most of the special attacking dragons in this tier are just like equally as like hard to switch into as each other. But I guess that Palkia O kind of has that their advantage. You have a move that you have an item that boosts your stab by 20%. You also 120 base speed compared to Reshiram's base 90. But yeah, let's get into the game and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So I lead off with Mewtwo. I don't think the lead really matters. We're going to be playing this game case by case. I am Cobra Berry on this Mewtwo, and they do knock off, which would have done a lot of damage to me if I wasn't Cobra Berry, for example, and I was just like a regular item. But I was worried about Arceus Dark, of course. Like, if I'm a nasty plot Mewtwo, you know, Judgment, I'll be able to tank that. Prey, I land a Focus Blast on that same turn, and then, you know, Arceus Dark is dead. Also, you know, trying to take Deoxys attack into account, maybe runs Dark Pulse knockoff, you know, so that's what I was running. So they are Focus Sash like most Deoxys attacker. I go on to my Arceus Steel because I'm just like, I'm not trying to lose Mewtwo here, for example, you know. I at least have a Psychic Resist. So they go for the knockoff, doesn't do any damage, because, you know, you can't knock off Arceus' plates. So they go Palafin. I'm just like, Palafin comes out, but I'm Supercell Slam, which completely just cooks regular Palafin. So I'm happy that that mon got basically chipped. But now they go Mewtwo X, and I'm just like, I'm very worried about Mewtwo X, for example, because like the only thing that's faster on my team is my Mewtwo of my own. So I'm just praying I win the speed tie and like I'm able to deal with this Mewtwo X. But Shadow Ball does 50, which tells me some good information about the EVs that Mega Mewtwo X is running. So I go on to Clefable. I'm not unaware, unfortunately, but they go for the knockoff instead of trying to flinch with Zen Headbutt. So we get off the Thunder Wave. So I'm just like happy about that because you know, Mega Mewtwo X faster than every single one of my guys, also does 10 million damage to all of my guys, especially Mega Kangaskhan, Arceus Steel. Palkia doesn't like taking attacks. So at this point, I'm just like, yeah, the biggest threat to my team is now Paralyzed, which is a pretty good thing in Ubers. Like I said earlier, you have these broken threats with ridiculous attacking stats and actually like pretty good speed tiers. Now, I'm running Scarf Zamazenta, but at 50% with a +1 defense, am I going to be killing Mewtwo X with any of my attacks? No. So, you know, making sure I get that Paralysis off is good because, you know, I could always revenge kill Palkia Origin form. So at this point, I probably made like the worst play of all time, but what else could I have really done? Like, I was hoping they swapped out or something, so I go hard Kangaskhan and they just Drain Punch. And I was like, who Drain Punches a Clefable? Like, I would have just stayed in and like, you could think like in that position that I probably wouldn't stay in because Zen Headbutt kills me, but like, what realistically was I gonna switch into anyway? Like, you know, so I didn't really see the point of Drain Punch in there because I would have just gotten off good damage with Moonblast. Doesn't matter though because Palkia Origin is in, and you know, I have to sack a good amount of my Pokemon just to defeat this. As you can see, it does 84%, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. So I go for Spatial Rend. I'm not trying to risk Hydro Pump missing. They also get Paralyzed. Okay, good. One fully Paralysis there. So pretty solid stuff. We like the yellow color around here. So they go out to Xerneas. I predict that and go for the Hydro Pump. I'll just like Hydro Pump, Wall to it, kill Xerneas. You know, they have a bit of HP, Spadef investment, but Palkia Origin just does a lot of damage. So, you know, they can't really get away with that. They go Palafin, which I'm really confused about because Jet Punch is not going to kill me from that range. I think it would have... So Jet Punch did 9. I was at 16, 9 times... Yeah, that still wouldn't have killed me if it was banded. So, yeah, I don't know why they went Palafin, though. They go on to Reshiram, which I assume is Scarfed, and I do test out my theory to be correct. So, at this point, they still have Mewtwo X, which is Paralyzed, so it's not really doing much. I have Clefable, which just completely just walls this Reshiram pretty easily, to be honest. Flamethrower not doing any sort of damage. I go for the Rocks here just to get some chip on Arceus. I'm surprised I'm faster than this. So they're running like no speed on that. Because I was 0 speed Clefable, so but yeah, now we're in a pretty bad position here because, for example, you know, I know this is Scarf Reshiram. I'm also Scarf Zamazenta, so it doesn't really matter in the end. But it's more like Zamazenta will take a whole lot of damage from Reshiram, especially if I decide to CC first. At -1 special defense, I'm getting cooked by Blue Flare. So at this point, as you can see, I'm going to need a Paralysis on this Reshiram and praying I don't miss T-Wave because, unfortunately, T-Wave can miss. So... yeah, Arceus Steel is obviously weak to fire. Zamazenta trying to kill Reshiram in return will obviously die to Blue Flare. Now, Clefable is our little guy here, you know, OU staple for the past how many generations now. Still has pretty good stats all around, but they're nothing crazy yet. It can do, it can 1v1 a Pokemon with 150 special attack. It's crazy. Now, they go for the Blue Flare. It does 57. I did the numbers. I count the numbers. I get off the T-Wave, and I'm just like... winning. So they swap out to Arceus Dark for some reason. They still would have just outsped me anyway. Like, they should have just killed me, which I'm confused about. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because their Wing Con is now paralyzed, which puts me in a pretty solid position because Zamazenta 1v1s Arceus Dark very easily. Now, I soft-boiled there in the odd case that they missed Blue Flare. Again, Clef was a cycle it really needed to do was T-Wave. And we also just start T-Waving the Arceus Dark. So, again, now I'm faster than the Arceus Dark. Like, he just wasn't running any speed on any of these guys, especially Arceus Dark and Mega Mewtwo X, which he probably needed to run some speed. So in this situation, like, the game's pretty much over. Like, I'm just spending turns doing that. Full power, I mean, it doesn't really matter if they get full powered in this situation. But as you can see, I was in a pretty losing position. I lost like 2 mons. No, yeah, I basically lost 3 mons trying to deal with Mega Mewtwo X, like, and obviously Paralysis came in clutch here, and they go for Ancient Power, which, you know, doesn't really do anything. So yeah, as you can see, we spent half my team trying to beat Mewtwo X, while Kangaskhan was switching, which, to be fair, I was expecting Zen Headbutt. Like, assuming they didn't click Drain Punch there, I would have just killed them with Seismic Toss, but yeah, half my team dead just because of 1 Pokemon. So as you can see, in a situation like this, Paralysis was really good. And, you know, you always have to figure out what to do in draft, for example. Like, again, I wasn't particularly worried about this matchup going into it. I knew that I could prep well for it. The first game, though, I don't even want to talk about the first game, bro. Like, I needed to land Thunder. Thunder did not land. So, we're up against Metro next, which will get recorded at a later point next week. But anyway, hopefully you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from with Paralysis. I do think it's probably one of the most important status conditions in Uber's formats. And, you know, like, when I was making this team as well in the Forge, like, I went into the Forge, I was like, damn, I need to make a good team versus my guy Ontario Oshawott here. And, like, I had my moveset for the Clefable out as Moonblast, Softball, Stealth Rock, like, pretty standard Clef moves. And I was thinking the last move, do I go Toxic or do I go something else? And, like, Toxic was my first choice. Then I realized, why the hell am I going to go Toxic? I'm going to go T-Wave. Like, I want to slow down some of these guys, you know, like, my team isn't slow by any means. I still have a Mewtwo and a Scarf Zamazenta, you know, and Poké Origin, like, still relatively fast Pokemon, but, you know, they also had pretty fast Pokemon as well, like the Deoxys Attack and Mega Mewtwo X of their own. So yeah, that's what the Power Paralysis does. Clefable, you did the Lord's work. You managed to get me the win there because of your Paralysis. Definitely the MVP of that game. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. You guys, let me know down below what you guys think of Paralysis. You know, some people have claimed in the past and still claim to this day that Paralysis is like the most annoying status condition, even worse than Sleep and Freeze, which, you know, you're entitled to your own opinion, of course, and you know, I'm not going to dispute anything because I can't be bothered. But yeah, Paralysis is definitely quite an annoying status ailment to deal with. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.